Hi, good evening children. Welcome to today biology. Today, apart from that 9th class biology second chapter plant tissues, today we are going to learn about plant tissues and their types and their subtypes and what are the different types of functions which are carried out by plants. How the plants can manage these different kinds of functions, basically they have to dependent on different types of plant tissues. First of all, what do you mean by tissue? Tissue is nothing but a group of cells which are having a similar structure and similar function. That we call as a plant tissue. So based on that, the functions of the plants, the tissues are mainly four kinds. Those are four major types. First one is meristematic tissue. The second one is dermal tissue. Third one is ground tissue. Fourth one is vascular tissue. So with association of these four types of tissue, the plants can manage the different kinds of functions, mainly for growth and repair, storage of food materials, transportation of water and minerals and soils, and transportation of food materials, and also the dermal tissue, which is mainly conduction of outer covering. So these are all the functions which are carried out by the four different types of plant tissues. In addition to that, animal cell, like plant cell, is having some additional functions like photosynthesis. So plants can perform photosynthesis additionally, not like as an animal cell. So coming to the meristematic tissue, as we said, it is mainly in the form of the overall growth and repair. The meristematic tissue is divided into mainly three subtypes. One is apical meristematic tissue, lateral meristematic tissue, intercalary meristematic tissue. It is also called as cambium. So what do you mean by apical meristematic tissue? Meristems means the tender-like portions. The tender-like portions which is facilitated to the growing portions. They are very thin and delicate. So meristems means mainly for growing regions, and they have to repair that tissues is called as a meristematic tissue. So this is the apical portion of the shoot tip. This is the apical portion of the root tip. Mainly the shoot tip and root tip, these portions are having elongated cells. So coming to the apical meristematic tissue, it is located only in the shoot tip and the root tip. Well, coming to the lateral meristematic tissue, see, the lateral branches arises when we cut the shoot tip. When we are cutting the shoot tip, automatically it can support the lateral branches. This is called as a lateral meristematic tissue. Next, intercalary meristematic tissue means intercalary meristematic tissue. I mean that it is the bridge between the lateral meristem and apical meristem. The branches which arises is called as a intercalary meristematic tissue. So meristematic tissue is mainly three types that we have to discuss till now. So why the plants shoot tips, when we are cut down, immediately they have to stop the growth and they have to allow them the side branches because of the phenomena, because of the property is called as apical dominance. Means what do you mean by apical dominance? In the sense, apical portion, when we are cut the apical portion, so the dominant portion is removed, so it automatically can be allow them to the side branches, lateral branches. This is called as a apical dominance. Next, what are the characteristic features of the meristematic tissue? What is the characteristic features? I mean that what is the characteristic features of the cells which are present in the meristems? Means they have small and thin cell wall. The small and thin cell wall is present, and a prominent nucleus and abundant cytoplasm was present in the meristematic tissue, compactly arranged without any intercellular spaces. There is no gaps between the one cell to another cell, and the portions of the meristems are continuously growing, continuously dividing cells. So these are the characteristic features of the meristematic tissue. Next, coming to the already in the previous classes videos, we observed that onion root tip and growing root tips, growing roots and onion root tip cells, we are already observed that one. So this is the root tip and this is the shoot tip. While we are observing the differences between the root tip and shoot tip, we can go to that textbook page number 16. They are given the tabular form of the arrangement of the cells, I mean the tissues like shoot tip and root tip. Shoot tip and root tip, apical meristematic tissue is present and lateral meristematic tissue is present and intercalary meristematic is present. But whereas in case of shoot tip, both apical meristem, lateral meristem, intercalary meristem is present. See, while we are observing the shoot tip, apical meristem, lateral meristem and intercalary meristem, three were present in that shoot tip. While coming to that onion root tip or root tip cells, only the apical meristem and some of the plants, for example, in case of these, see, actually these are the root tips. So these are the root tips. These are called as, for example, this is a bean seed. These are called as dicotyledons. These grass plants are called as monocotyledons. These are called as monocotyledons. These are called as dicotyledons. So while we are observing the monocotyledons like grass plants, the grass is having lateral meristems. So apical meristem and lateral meristem were present, but whereas in case of intercalary meristem is absent in the root tips. Intercalary meristem is absent in the root tips. So coming to this part, this is the characteristic features of the meristem. These are the differences between the apical meristematic tissue and lateral meristematic tissue and intercalary meristematic tissue in both shoot tip and root tips. Now next we are going to the observation of TS of dicot stem. See, while we are observing on the blackboard, it should be very clear. So this is the diagram of TS. TS means transverse section of the dicot stem. What do you mean by dicots? Actually, we have two types of cartilages. One of them are monocartilages and some of them are dicotyledons. For example, see, this is a paddy or maize or wheat. These are called as monocartilagens. Whereas coming to the beans or pulses, these are called as dicotyledons. So this is a root tip. This is called as a shoot tip. So while we are observing the shoot or stem portion, while we are taking the TS of stem, it should be appear like this. So these are having four different types of tissues are present in the TS of dicot stem. Obviously, the first, the branches where the branches are arise, that is called as a meristematic tissue. But the first and foremost layer of TS of dicot stem is dermal tissue for outer covering layers. Next one is meristematic tissue for growing regions. The first layer is a dermal tissue. The second layer is called as a meristematic tissue. And the third one is called as a vesicular tissue for xylem and phloem. Xylem for water and minerals transportation, phloem for the food transportation. Ground tissue is the last one. It is an abundant. So the ground tissue for mainly for the bulk and the storage of the food materials. So while we are observing the TS of dicot stem, we can observe these four types of tissues mainly for that four major kinds of functions. This is called as a TS of dicot stem. So now coming to that, this second type of tissue is called as a dermal tissue. While we are observing the dermal tissue, dermal means skin. What do you mean by dermatology? Dermatology means it is a branch of study of the skin is called as a dermatology. So obviously the first and foremost layer of the TS of dicot stem is called as a dermal tissue, means it is the outermost covering layer, but it is having three different layers: outermost layer, middle layer, inner layer. So outermost layer is called as epidermis, middle layer is called as mesodermis, and the last inner layer is called as endodermis. Next, while we are observing the desert plants, see, while we are focusing on that desert plants, the walls of the cells of the dermal tissue are comparatively thicker than the cells of the meristematic tissue. When compared to meristematic tissue, the walls of the dermal tissue is thicker. That means comparatively meristematic tissue, the dermal tissue walls are more thicker. Especially in desert plants, it may be even more thick and waxy. So, for example, while we are observing some desert plants like aloe vera plants. So the dermal tissue is thick and more waxy. Waxy means it's a wax coating. It's a wax coated layer. While we are observing that leaves of that dermal tissue, it is having some stomata. Stomata is the structure of opening and closing aperture, which can facilitate to exchange of the gases. It is a structure of stomata. It can be protected by the kidney shaped guard cells. So stomata is there. It can be opening and closing. It allows the exchange of the gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen for both respiration and photosynthesis process, and it can be protected by the guard cells. So this is the structure of stomata. So while we are observing the last point of this, the roots have long hair-like parts called as root hairs. The roots are having a long hairy structures are called as a root hairs, and stomata are the parts of the dermal tissue. So in big plants, so coming to the next page, have you ever seen a sticky substance on the trunk of the branches of tree like acacia and neem? What is it? It is called as a gums. So actually some of the plants, especially neem plants, acacia, these plants, they have to secrete a gum-like structure is called as secondary metabolites. So tannins, latex, gums, these are called as secondary metabolites. I means plants can manage the waste materials in the form of secondary metabolites. We can understand in the 10th class excretion, the 4th chapter excretion, how the plants manage the waste material, that we have to learn in a detailed manner. Next, coming to the dermal tissue. The dermal tissue protects the plants from the loss of water, mechanical damage like a breaking and cleaning of the branches, and parasitic and disease causing organisms. In big trees, the dermal tissue forms the several layers above the dermis is called as a bark. So while we are observing the big trees, the outermost layer of the epidermis forms the several layers, and it forms that bark. Bark is a dead cell. Already we learned in that 8th class, the cell, the basic unit of life. The Robert Hooke, who was discovered the bark cells, when he observed that bark cells, they are in empty spaces. So this is the information about dermal tissue. Thank you.